Yes, prediction.
Pain.
We run the clock, Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop.
You're adding this guy.
Just another go dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16, serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, it's the show with your dreams.
Ain't no bias, Chris Zorich breaking truth. Traded in the golden helmet in the past for a suit. With the tape, never lies, college ball, he's a stoop. Breaking the top 16, not the top 32.
I don't mean to cut you off like a Zorich jersey, but you ain't really grinding unless the jersey dirty. Hit the running back like a Mack truck behind the 30-yard line. It's game time, my team ride you off the sideline.
You look at Chris like this with a fact checklist, going over college teams like a big scientist. Steve streaking from his head like in his playing days. Super 16 polls on his show straight away.
It's the FBS, the best of the best from the ACC to the SEC. Pac-12, Big Ten, Mountain West, Sun Belt, and the Big 12. Open your eyelids, who the best like the clock? Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop. With Christopher Zorich, just another go dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16, serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, it's the show with your dreams.
Welcome, everyone, to week 12 of the Super 16 Poll Show. Yes, that's 12 in this for 12 weeks, and we're getting close. A lot of teams have their rivalry. This is rivalry week. Then after that, there's going to be some championships. But before we get into all that, the Bears may have had a game this weekend. Not sure. Did anybody have a chance to see it?
Yeah, we all saw it, right?
Oh, we did? Okay, I just want to make sure. Now, I mean, I was throwing you texts. I know you weren't even answering anybody, but I couldn't believe it, man. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, like literally, like the last 2 minutes of the game. I was going nuts.
It's, it's not even funny to me at this point because I'm getting older, and when you continuously see the same kind of redundancy of stupidity, I mean, that's what it really is. It's just the lack of preparedness and the understanding of football. And it boils down to the basics because as complicated as football is, Chris, it doesn't have to be. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's
Very
about
true.
let's make the right decision in the right situations. You got gifted a stop and go, and you score, and you take the lead. To look at a guy that's been the head coach and a new defensive coordinator, and they don't just go conservative now. Keep everything in front of you. Get out of there with a win. Force a guy that's never started in this league to make perfect passes. But instead, we are going to get gimmicky. We're going to blitz and do the things. It's just unbelievable what transpired. You can't make it up. It is, I want to say, God's hand, the football gods forcing the McCaskies to do something that they never do. And if you never do something, how do you know it's not going to work?
Sure.
Because you know what I'm saying? Well, you've done the ridiculous of keeping Mark Trestman, John Fox past their due date. You did it. You've done it with Matt Nagy as well. Your collaboration end of the year, awful. And you went into this year. There's plenty of talent on this football team to win, clearly. And today you're at a press conference talking about woulda, coulda, shoulda. Now, if we would have won and 2 weeks ago against the Niners and would have won, then we'd be looking at 5-5. That's not how you coach. That's not how you talk to the press. And he drops the ball at every turn. We talked about being a leader with you last week against the Steelers, taking ownership, getting a fine.
Right.
He couldn't do that. It's well past its due date. Again, I know the news is coming out tonight that Andy Dalton is likely to be the starter. So 99% Andy Dalton on Thanksgiving. And it's just disappointing because your head coach continues to be here. I think fans want change, evidenced. Did you see my video? Evidenced by my guy Jim Larison, who was at the game as Berlissimo's putting up. And this is what the fans are saying, Chris. Loud, chanting in the stadium. Our song, Chris.
Nice.
The Fire Nagy song. Listen. I mean,
That's crazy.
That's a stadium there. I gave you two angles from
That's
different
crazy.
fans of the show. Yeah, it is crazy.
But
yeah.
Here's the thing now. I mean, and you just talked about this. If this is what we're used to, if this is what they've been doing for so long, do we expect them to do anything else?
Well, that's the thing, Chris. At what point, the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing with failure. The insanity bears. I mean, at some point, listen, I've had the remedy, the penicillin for this disease of the Chicago Bears for a long time. And I think you lived in a time period growing up, and so did I, where the Bears on Sunday were a contender. It didn't matter who you were playing.
Sure.
Dallas Cowboys and the didn't matter. We're going to go in there and play hard, physical, sound football. We might even play to the echo of the whistle. There might be a fight. There might be some pride shown. There might be no loafing. There might be a physical exchange between the coach and the official. There might be a showcase of the Chicago Bears that everybody knows and loves. Right now, the McCaskies are the problem. Virginia, I said it to you yesterday. Maybe you put too much faith in your children who don't care. You are at the point where this is just, I got to make as much money as I possibly can to take care of my generations of family. Well, that's not good enough for Cherie in DC or Berlissimo in United Kingdom or Chris Zorich in Illinois or Phill Ottochian in Connecticut. Everywhere there's Bears fans. It's not good enough. And at some point, you got to put the fans first, because at the end of the day, doing the right thing you've never done. You've allowed Ted Phillips and company to run this, what will we call it, Chris? A family business?
Family, yeah, it's just a family business, yeah.
Just run it into the ground. And it's still worth $4 billion. So you're okay. $4 billion plus. $4 billion. So yeah, you're fighting for a new stadium and everything. But at the end of the day, at some point, somebody, Pat Ryan, somebody stands in there and says, enough is enough. We need to put football first. And we hire.
I know you've heard the Chicago's talking about trying to jump in the fray.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I see that. And you know what? Listen, I don't care. The McCaskies might be nice people, whatever, but I've been around them and the organization in several, as a fan, as a member of the media, and now doing this show. And everything I've felt on all levels is this snooty, hoity-toity attitude. Like your poop don't stink like everybody else's. Like you don't sit on the same toilet. It is a travesty because Chris Ballard was in the building wanting to change things, and you were afraid, so you let him out of the building. You are hiring yes men. That's like a king, right? A king does that.
Of course, yeah.
He wants, laughing at every joke you say. Yeah, that was funny. When it really wasn't. That's the problem. No one's pushing back and saying, this isn't right. And you lucked into this kid, Justin Fields. Because nobody thought, if they had to do the draft over, he would have been maybe 1 or 2. He would have been with the Jets, right? So you got this kid. Now you're having a neglectful father coach him. He can't coach him. He's happy Andy was in the game. He's happy on Thursday when Thanksgiving that. And you'll be joining me when I rant again.
Well, no, hopefully there'll be a win. Come on, it's the Lions.
I honestly have no faith.
It's the Lions.
It's exactly. And this is the Bears. They've won 3 games. They've lost 5 in a row. They've had 3 seasons of 5 losses in a row. They're going for 2 seasons back-to-back with 6 in a row. This is the culture that you've built under this guy. And as an ownership, and my last point on this, an administration, you can't go with the trend that we never fire our coaches, no matter how bad they are. That's the dumbest thing. That's like having an engine that doesn't work right. We wait till Christmas, then we'll fix it. Everything after the season. No, you do it now. You get a jump on all the competition and you scout the possibilities of coaches as well as look in the mirror and say, do we need what Draft Dr. Phil, DDP is saying? Do we need a president of football operations that oversees? Because if the GM and the coach are your football people, then guess what? You don't have anybody holding anybody accountable.
That's true.
You have what? What was the Nazis? You have a dictatorship, a football dictatorship. So of course Ryan's going to tell, listen, we played really well to win, just like you heard the coach today. Well, if we would have won it, we were so close, San Francisco. Oh my God, remember that Steelers game? Remember that? We should have won. That taunt this, the refs. And Justin's learning, Chris. Justin's learned. This is what you're doing. He should have been fired way last year, right after the season. He should have been fired again after Cleveland. He should have been fired after the 49ers game. He should have been fired after the state. They still can't do it. They have no pride, no integrity, and no ability to put football first. And under that umbrella are the fans. And I told every fan, don't show up. Don't go to the game. Don't buy anything. Let them feel it where they only care. And that's about their money.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. In fact, what Todd Cox is talking about, and I know I said it was the only time I've seen this guy fired up was when his headset wasn't working. That was the most I've ever seen the guy fired up. That ain't going to work in Chicago. And you know what? And everyone always joke, Phil, Lovey got it. Well, Lovey didn't win. I'm about winning. The last time you won was with a guy that was a maniac. Every ref, every play, every situation he was involved in. That's what you need. Somebody that's going to be crazy about winning. And I don't see that from Nagy. I crazy about my playbook. That's it. Hit him in the pocketbook.
There you go. Hit him in the pocketbook.
You got me ranting.
I see. I thought this is actually after the game. I didn't realize that you're going to have a
I'm fired up, Chris, because
as you should be.
I think of you growing up as a kid. Then you got to play, but you played under Ditka, and you saw the difference between Wanstead and Ditka. It was an extreme one, and you knew the difference. And I'll just say it for the 5,000th time, and writers steal all our stuff and they make their stories, and that's fine. But fans know. I'm telling you, the coach is the most important. Most important. They decide everything. Who's going to play,
sure,
how you're going to move, what what situations, personnel, how you're going to draft. They're involved in everything. That's why it's so important. So if you get a shoe salesman like Nagy, who's never been how in God's name do you hire a guy that's never been a head coach on any level? To me, you're the charter franchise. Do better. Enough said.
On the end of my career, at that point, I think we suffered 2 4-12 seasons under Wannstedt, and folks were returning their season tickets. But just as they were turning them in, folks were in line buying them. So
I don't want people. I honestly, to clear, I don't want people turning them in. I've said it the other day, like Tom and Kristen, who spent their hard-earned money to bring their children to a Bears game. Yeah. Don't give it back. Go to the game. I'm saying those of you that are season ticket holders, don't show up. Don't go. Don't go. You pay. The product is, we have to make change. We unfortunately have to hit them where it matters most, in their pocketbook. We have to hit them that this isn't okay. And it started on this Sunday. Fire Nagy's song came roaring in, and that was the goal of me and Cool Kennedy. Fire Nagy. That's the baseline of this whole chant. It's got, everybody should know Nagy must go. That's the reality, and it transpired right there on Sunday, and it needs to happen again when the Bears play at home against the Arizona Cardinals on December 5th. Keep it going. It's unfortunate. Maybe when they do lose to the Lions,
come on,
I'm telling you, Chris, it's come out today. Certain things I know. I'm not going to use any names, but now that this report has come out, a lot of these players don't want to play for him. And you've been in locker rooms like that, so you know what transpires. They lay down. It's Thanksgiving. I'm not going to play hard. I want to go eat turkey with my family, not play for this turkey. Right?
Wow.
I'm telling you. Chris, you can't. Last thing.
Yes.
Did you see his presser today?
I saw part of it, yeah.
Okay. Is that a showcase of somebody just hanging by, like, scratching?
No, of course.
It's an embarrassment.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's an embarrassment. You're talking around truths. You're lying in the process of it. It's bad. It's bad. They lost the practice squad last week. I don't know what that means, but let's get into some real every week. This guy.
College football.
Right off the rip. He goes and breaks it down. You had a huge weekend of college football. There was a lot of blowouts, Chris. A lot of tones were set, as we say.
And a lot of results from things we talked about. We talked about some teams that were right on that cusp. One being Michigan State. Everybody was talking about that game, and they had some interesting results. But let's take a look at last week's Super 16.
That Super 16 poll show. Right there, week 11.
So last week, BYU was in there, Wisconsin to Baylor, Texas A&M at 13. We had Wake at 12, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Michigan. Interesting. Notre Dame, Michigan State, even more interesting. Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, 4, Oregon, 3, Ohio State, 2, Alabama, and number 1, Georgia. And this week, we may have a little shakeup. Who knows what happens? It's on the script.
It's not on the script.
Super 16 poll show, because this is the poll that you get down and dirty and start talking about, like, some real attributes of what's going on with the poll. Interestingly, had conversations with some of my former players, not current players, but guys who are close to the game. And it's been a really interesting year. And a lot of folks have been excited about seeing what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, because now, as I mentioned before, it's rivalry week this week, and some teams are going to be either they're going to win or lose, and it's going to affect the college football playoff committee's results. So let's get into the Super 16 poll with me and our boy Phill Ottochian at number 16.
Number 16, Wake Forest.
Phil, you want to jump in here? Because we talked about this. We talked about this from the beginning of when they started to get their roles. They started to get that momentum. It was, hey, is this going to be their dream season?
Yep.
And we talked about that one game way in the back. Now, surprisingly enough, they actually lost the game before that, but this was going to be the game. And we saw what happened.
Yeah, you want to get to the point where you've conquered your demons.
That is true.
And one of the obviously the biggest one is Clemson. That's your demon, and you have to get over that to establish yourself and your program. Chris and I talked about that for weeks, and sure enough, maybe they got caught looking ahead, lose last week, and then this week they get bombasted
48-27,
and that just brings the air out of the sails or knock you in the belly, just gut punch right there to all of what you had,
Well, and this was supposed to be the game that kind of defined was this just kind of a dream season, or, is this the first season of Wake Forest kind of rolling and being kind of in the hunt every year in the ACC, which is going to be interesting because they actually had a chance to kind of test their mettle against Clemson. We saw what happened there, but they still have a chance to be the ACC champion, which is kind of scary because this is what's going to happen with the Pac-12 and the ACC. I mean, when we get toward the end of the poll, Phil, I mean, it's going to be crazy. And I'm going to ask you for a couple of scenarios because it's going to be really interesting from some teams that actually may lose, that very well may lose.
Yeah, especially when you get into these rivalry games, anything can happen. So it totally takes a turn in those college football poll rankings in the playoff committee, because if it takes a turn, it doesn't really matter because you're going to have to be able to step up and beat these guys. And listen, the Demon Deacons, you and I were so excited for them. It was one of those things they haven't done since the 40s, right? So you want to see this. You want to pull for the underdog.
Of course.
I know I did. And, to see it come down to earth like that is disappointing. But again, it goes back to my rant about Coach Nagy. The cream will always rise to the top. You'll always, phony's a phony or flash in the pan. They'll always set the tone. That's why it's so important that they would have conquered that demon in Clemson and made that thing a fluke loss. We were looking ahead and we got beat. No, now you're back to earth. In fact, I'm kind of surprised you kept him in there, but I respect your eye here. I have to look at the whole scenario here, but Wake has had a season like never before. And again, I'm just looking at it from afar. I get why you kept them in here, though. And
they're still in the hunt.
They could win the ACC.
Again, that's not a good thing, though. It's scary. It's really scary. All right, so let's move on to number 15.
Number 15, BYU.
Okay, we have our BYU. Oh, I forgot their
the Cougars.
Mascot. Oh yeah, Cougars. Jeez, wow. They move up one spot to 15. Of course, they're beating Georgia Southern. And again, the reason why we actually talked about this before, they're independent now. They're going to be in the Big 12 in a couple of years. But when you're an independent, it's a challenge trying to find games later in the year. So you may sit there and think, well, why the hell are they playing Georgia Southern? Well, Georgia Southern may have been one of the only teams that had an opening at the time they were making the schedule. Now, interestingly enough, they're going to play USC next week, which is supposed to be a better game. They don't even have a coach, as we know. So, I mean, they're actually going to wind up possibly, they have an outside chance of making like a J1 Bowl, a January 1 Bowl, which would be great for the program as they leap into the Big 12. Don't think that's going to happen, but there have been more crazier things that have happened this season. So they have an outside chance of doing something good, which is going to be interesting.
I don't have a Notre Dame rant yet. When Notre Dame gets into this,
hold on, man. We are going to
he's
get
asking
to them.
me. He's asking
I'm
me.
sorry,
That's
I'm
why.
sorry.
I know you got your glasses, but I don't. Chris might have a big rant on them. For me, though, when Notre Dame, listen, John Madden said this real quick. He said, when the Chicago Bears are relevant, football in the world is a better place. I say the same thing about Notre Dame. There's just something electric about the atmosphere. And I've never been there. I know Chris is going to bring me.
Yes, I will.
Actually, Greg and his wife, Jenny, were bringing up the video of what it's like the night before. Have you been there where they're playing the horns in that hall? I was getting goosebumps watching that. That must be so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really amazing. There's a bunch of traditions that go on the night before and day of, and so when we have a chance to go, I'll show you all that stuff, and it's interesting because I mean, folks have said this, and it's part of the snobbish part of being part of the program, but I think folks are absolutely right. When Notre Dame is in the hunt, college football is good.
Exactly.
Now, whether you hate them or love them, that's what folks enjoy, right? They want to see Notre Dame get their ass beat, or folks want to see Notre Dame beat the crap out of somebody. So that's the exciting part of being the villain and also the hero.
I love that. And that is so well said, sir.
Hey, all right. So let's move on to number 14.
Number 14, Wisconsin.
Now, these guys are still number one in the West. They've been on a 7-game winning streak, which is great. Here's the thing, though. They played 5 ranked teams. A lot of folks might not remember this, but they played 5 ranked teams and wound up beating 2 of them, Iowa and Purdue. So, I mean, the last game they lost was to a ranked Michigan team. And I think that was like week 4 or 5 or something like that. But it's interesting now. We obviously know that they'll be playing Ohio State for the Big Ten championship. Now, that's where it's big on big, right? Because Wisconsin's next game is against Minnesota, and we all know what they're going to do to Minnesota. Unfortunately, does Minnesota have a chance? I don't really think so. I want to be realistic. Wisconsin, they're trying to bounce back from, this was supposed to be their year. They ran into Notre Dame in Chicago, which Notre Dame wound up beating them. And obviously the same with Cincinnati, right? The better Wisconsin becomes, the better it is for Notre Dame. But let's just say they'll beat Minnesota, and then they'll have a chance to represent the West in the Big Ten championship. So it's going to be interesting. All right, let's move on to number 13.
Number 13, Michigan State University.
Phil, I'm going to bring you in for like a half second here, at least 20 seconds. These guys dropped from 6 to 13.
A big drop.
56-7.
Wow.
My fingers were hurting, bro. I was texting everybody. I mean, you were in that.
Yes,
it was a bloodbath. But here's the thing, though. I want to talk about these guys when we talk about Ohio State, because there's going to be some interesting things going on here after this week. So let's wait until we talk about Ohio State. But Michigan State's next opponent is Penn State.
Right.
After this game, after the Ohio State game, obviously Tucker wants to enjoy his contract, but
were you real quick upset with the end result based on backing off the contract talk and the announcement?
Well, no, I think that's cool, but I think what we can understand though is that being realistic with our poll. I had them at 7,
right?
And a whole bunch of my guys were giving me a hard time about it. Some of my buddies on teams I played on, both professionally and in college, and they're like, dude, they're real, they're for real, they're for real. I'm like, well, yeah, but have you seen who they played? So I'm trying to go on and trying to back up my ranking, and now we're seeing, right? Now they can say, hey, they deserve to be in the top 4. If that's how I feel, that's great. But I think Ohio State, talking about okay, look, let's wait until we get to Ohio State to talk about this because there's some good things I'm going to talk about.
Perfect.
So let's move to 12.
Number 12, Oregon.
Damn. The same thing happened here. What the hell, Phil? Okay, now this is, again, did not expect this. This was a Utah team that was not ranked. Dude. And
your guest, he had called that. This
is crazy.
This might be tough for Oregon, Utah team.
Exactly.
Sure enough.
I knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. Listen, go into those games. They put a whooping on them too, physical one.
Whooping.
Yeah.
I couldn't. They stopped they stopped everything. And the interesting thing was, and I could see Utah was unranked, or at least in our poll, they were unranked.
Right.
But
they were in our poll.
Now, if this is who the Pac-10, they have a chance again to represent the Pac-10 in the Pac-10. Excuse me, the Pac-12 championship. What does that mean? So now we're talking about the Pac-12 is totally out of the conversation, right? Because if this is the best team they have to offer, they fumbled against Stanford, and now Utah. What does this mean? So now you're talking about how strong is the ACC? How strong is the Pac-12? I think folks are talking about it's a Power 5, right? So now maybe Cincinnati and American, maybe they have a legitimate conversation here.
Oh, yeah.
Where maybe some smaller conferences now join in, right? Because, again, if Wake Forest is the strength, if they become the ACC champions and Oregon, the ACC or the Pac-12 champions, you got 2 of the Power 5 not even in the conversation.
Well, let me ask you this. Based on what you've already explained, but for a new listener, you're saying, that Oregon beat Ohio State, right?
Correct. Which is what everybody was talking about, right? So everybody's saying, hey, this is the reason why. And that was one of the reasons why the College Football Playoff Committee had them ranked higher than Ohio State. Because they had a head-to-head.
Me and you disagreed with it at the time, for the record, because Chris was looking at performance then and versus now. Chris is more heavy on the now. And so am I, because college football, just like any football, the best teams get better as they go.
Mm-hmm.
They don't lose with a backup quarterback throwing deep balls, wide open breakdowns and everything 11 weeks into the season. That's getting worse.
Right.
Reference to the Bears.
Correct.
But same thing in college football. Oregon, you don't lose to Utah week 12.
Correct.
You have to be able to be a champion. And I think that's why I'm just speaking for you, Chris. the listener or the troll that's going to say, well, they beat Ohio State. Who else? You've never played you don't understand. What's now? What are they doing now? That's where freshmen grow.
Sure.
Sophomore grows. Wait a second. A position change happened. This kid went from right tackle to left tackle. Now he's gotten more comfortable.
Right.
Now, he's growing. The quarterback's growing. Michael Cohn is growing. Whoever's growing up in this, that's why they are ranked where they are. I love it. I like that you put them at 12 here.
Now, of course, they have a chance to redeem themselves in the rivalry, which is the Oregon State game. So that's again, and I think that's what game is that? The Lincoln Log or Timberland game or something? I don't know. It's out there.
The Justin Timberlake game.
It's one of those, like, I got a Timberland boot with an axe.
The Beaver.
Like
I understand.
Yes.
Where's Bullets? Bullets will get it.
Somebody got to give me that.
Bullets has gotten us.
I have all the other ones. I got the Egg Bowl. I got everybody. I got everybody else. I don't know what the hell the Oregon State game is. So
it's Civil War.
There you go. It's the Civil War.
Right.
So, but I know it's a big game for them. So
yes.
And they actually talked about Oregon State isn't doing terrible this year, so they actually talked it's going to be a game. Now, again, will they bounce back? This is the thing that we always talk about. We always want to see, right? When you have a game like this that they got demolished, can they end the season on a positive note? Obviously, one thing at a time. They have the Civil War first, and then after that, they'll have a chance to represent in the playoffs, or excuse me, in the championship game, Pac-12. So,
do you think the college football playoff committee is going to drop them out of contention now with 2 losses?
They have to. Yeah, I mean, there's no way. I think they're going to be. I mean, I don't know how their ranking is. I think they need to be at 12. So,
I agree with you. That's why I'm proud of you.
You can't justify Stanford loss, unranked Stanford in the middle of the season, and an unranked Utah team after everybody was bragging about the fact that they beat Ohio State in the first week of the game. I mean, in the first first week or second week?
Exactly. And Ohio State has gotten better and better and better.
Phil, we've talked about this, and I'm not a huge Ohio State fan, but when you talk about what they've done in the course of the year, they've improved, and they went down after the loss. And what happened? Each week they moved up 1, made 2.
Yep.
They worked themselves up. So it's going to be interesting to see where they're at this week. So let's move on to number 11.
Number 11, Baylor.
All right, now this is going to be interesting because they wound up beating an average Kansas State team, which was fine. So there's not too much here, but the interesting part is this is year 2 for David Aranda. Now there's talk that he may get the LSU job. He's in the hunt for one of the top jobs. This guy's only been at Baylor for 2 years. So that's going to be the interesting thing about it. They're going to play Texas Tech with not only do they not have a coach, but the last 2 games I think they've lost because I think they wound up beating somebody when they first announced it. But then after that, they wound up losing 2. So it'll be interesting to see, but we're kind of excited for David Aranda having a chance to kind of capitalize on the success that he's had. So let's move on to number 10.
Number 10, Texas A&M.
Now, these guys moved up 2 spots, and it's kind of interesting because they wound up playing Prairie View A&M, which is an HBCU, but again, this is the part of the season where the SEC takes really, really kind of bye games and give their players rest right before either the championship or big games that they have. really not impressive to kind of talk about this game. I mean, it was 52-3. Again, not a big deal. But here's the thing, though. They have a chance to play LSU. LSU has a chance to go on and become bowl eligible if they beat Texas A&M. And what a great way to see Coach O out by having them have a chance to go to a bowl game. So that's really the only significance here. They had a chance after they beat Alabama to really kind of make it, but unfortunately they've had 2 losses after that, and they just they really didn't do well after that. And we thought we were going to do well, but they didn't. So let's move on to number 9.
Number 9, Oklahoma.
Okay, Phil, you want to jump in here because now we can talk about finally, we can talk about Bedlam. Finally.
Bedlam. The Battle of Bedlam. Again, this is rivalry weekend. Thanksgiving weekend always sets the tone. Oklahoma State. Been years watching this game. I remember watching Barry Sanders playing this game back in the day. Your former teammate, Dante Jones, playing at Oklahoma. I used to just love to say his name, Dante Jones. And listen, this is where that state gets the tone set. Oklahoma State, I don't know where they are on your list. Wink, wink. But this is where do the tone setting. This is where they set the tone, facing off against their nemesis. Always been in there. You're like little brother. You're always getting overshadowed.
And think about what this represents for the Big 12. Oklahoma's going to be leaving in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a chance for them to kind of get that revenge, but also, and this is just so funny how things work, right? Because for such a long period of time, Oklahoma was either ranked low or not even ranked. Oklahoma State was ranked low or not even ranked. All of a sudden, with the poor showing that Oklahoma had, all of a sudden they start getting lower, and now we wound up seeing Oklahoma wound up being ranked higher than them. Now, this is the interesting thing is that a lot of folks didn't think about this. I mean, this is going to be the game for the Big 12.
Right.
I mean, you have Oklahoma with 1 loss. You have Oklahoma State with that maybe ranked a little higher, who knows. But the fun part about it is this is something that no one thought about. I mean, yes, there's going to be a rivalry at the end of the year for Bedlam, but this has a huge what we're looking for. It says a huge result with the college football championship game. Because when you start looking at scenarios, I mean, the Big 12, they're still in it with Oklahoma State. See, they were in there with Baylor. Baylor got knocked down. So did Oklahoma. Now you have the one chance that the Pac-12 has a chance to get into the college football playoff. And oh my gosh, it's going to be the result of this game on Saturday, which may be one of our top 5 matchups. I don't know, but it's going to be a huge game. So right now, I mean, this is
to say yes. It's going.
It's huge. I'm excited about it now. It's freaking Monday, man. I cannot wait.
It's like Christmas Day getting that Atari 2600 type.
This is the best weekend of college football. The best.
Yes, I agree. It's rivalry weekend. This is where it all starts for some people because it doesn't even matter the records for some of these fans. It's like, I just want Auburn to beat Alabama. I just want Oklahoma State Cowboys to pull that upset, beat Oklahoma. Those Cowboy fans finally got their team. Are they going to fulfill this? Are they going to slam dunk? If Kansas can almost do it, can they do all of these scenarios? So, yeah, this game, Oklahoma State, gonna be exciting. And
Huge.
Oklahoma only one loss, but on the Zoe poll, he's pointed to how have they won? How have they won? And I think he's got them ranked fairly here. I really do. They have underperformed in many a matchup. Now, do they hit their stride now and set the tone? If they do, they got something to say. But this is the Big 12's Alamo, if you will.
There you go. Great.
There you go.
Great. I like that one. All right. Let's move on to number 8.
Number 8. Ole Miss.
We got another rivalry game here. This is the Egg Bowl. But first, let's talk about Ole Miss. We got 2 spots to number 8 after beating average Vanderbilt team. But for those folks who are fans of Ole Miss, Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl is here. Now it's going to be about the great quarterbacks, right? So you have Matt Corral, I think, is at 3,000 yards, and the other guy, Rogers, is at 4,000. But probably part of that is because of the coaching with Mike Leach at Mississippi State, and you have Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. So even that stuff is going. So I would love to be like living in that area to kind of see all the media and all the hype that goes on for this game, because you're going to have 2 coaches that love to talk in the media. So that's going to be really interesting. Let's move on to number 7.
Number 7. Michigan.
Okay, Phil, so you can jump in there, but before we start talking about who they're going to be playing, they wound up beating Maryland, which they had to, right? 49-18. I mean, you can't tell me they weren't sure if Harbaugh was going to finish out this year.
Right.
They weren't sure. They were like, hey, they were trying to get rid of him the year before. I think he went through a contract renegotiation.
Yep.
So the fact that he's ranked so high and Michigan is highly liked in the college football playoff, folks, it's so interesting. Now we can talk about Ohio State. Now, tell me how, and maybe as I was going through the games, I realized that maybe there's not enough television stations, but why is Michigan, Ohio State not in prime time? I mean, the game's at 11.
I guess they're trying to continue with tradition. It's almost like the Bears and I almost swore, the crappy surface at Soldier Field.
This is a family show.
Keep those traditions for people who actually care about dumb things. That's my stat. I totally agree with you. This should be on prime time, 8 o'clock East, in front of the world. This is the game. This is, in my opinion, the biggest game for me because, there's so many stories within it. What you let off with is, Jim Harbaugh getting abused by the Michigan media and the world. Like, it's time to move on from him. Oh, like Sharia is saying, I would take him in a New York Minute coaching my Bears. I'll tell you that. You want to see things wonderful. Change? Oh, my God.
That would be insane.
He would change the whole dynamic. Justin Fields, you kidding? There'd be a plan. There'd be a whole offense set up to build on him. But anyway, I don't want to go crazy on a rant there. But Jim Harbaugh has not been able to overcome this. We talked about it with the Demon Deacons and Clemson. We're talking about it with Oklahoma State, with Oklahoma. You've been little brother to Ohio State. Can he get that off his back? This is the test. It's the litmus test for Coach Harbaugh. Unfortunately, the fans of Big Blue in the state as well as around the world and alumni, they want this game no matter what. And they kind of like throw Jim in that bonfire, if you will, that they burn. without recognizing, hey, Ohio State's got a lot of talent there. They got a lot of talent. So to overcome this is going to take everything they got. So this is a heavyweight fight. I really like what Michigan is doing offensively. I love the way they use the tight end. I love their rotation at running back. And it's going to be interesting. I like where you rank them here. Obviously, this is the game. If they win this, then they're in the top 4. No doubt.
If
They're
they win
7.5 underdog.
all of college football is going to go nuts.
Oh,
So doing a little research, I think the last time they won, was it 2011? I'm not sure. So that's the hard part about it. But again, now is it going to be an advantage because they're playing the big house? I mean, imagine the hysteria.
Oh my
God!
God!
110,000 fans
storm the field like you never saw.
Come on, that would be absolutely insane.
Will they get the goalposts down? That'll be the only question.
If they be held to it, I guarantee. And my boy Rick, I mean, you guys tell me about
Rick's at the baseline driving it.
You probably drive from Chicago just to go see them knock the goalpost down because it would definitely be worth it. Now, I mean, this is huge, man. But again, maybe ABC, because it's gonna be on ABC. Maybe ESPN, ABC. Maybe they're thinking, hey, we got the Iron Bowl. I mean, there's other rivalry games. Egg Bowl. I mean, you name it. They have these damn bowls out there. So, maybe they just want to even out the scheduling. No, I'm not sure. But
traditionally, they've always played it at this time.
Thank you, Bullets. Appreciate that.
2011, Bullets, my boy from California. Wow. That was the last time they won.
Wow, that's a tough one.
That is 10
by
years.
the way, they play 10. They play every year, so it's
exactly.
Not. So when you start talking about this, it's just like the Bears.
Only once too. It's not like twice. You play them once every year.
When you talk about Green Bay, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you talk about a rivalry. Is it truly a rivalry when the other team is beating the crap out of you? So
I always say yes. I do to answer that because we did talk about it on Keeping It 100. Your win-loss record versus your rival isn't the determination of a rivalry. It's the pride, passion, and the integrity of the game of football that determines the rivalry. And that's what Bears Packers is. That's what Michigan Ohio State is. Why are we getting built up about this game? If it's because of the rivalry, it's because they've lost 10 in a row. It's because of a lot of things, but it's definitely exciting, and it is a rivalry. And I'll just go on the record and saying I'm rooting for Michigan to do it. I really want to see.
I like that.
I want to see Michigan beat them and have that moment. As much as I want to see Harbaugh with the Bears, this would kind of completely eliminate that.
You would definitely get a contract extension after. He wouldn't be leaving Michigan after this game.
But I love the game of football so much. And I want to see Michigan go out there and win this game for Jim and that program. They deserve it. And for Cherie.
That would be there you go. That would be a hell of a game. And I'm excited to watch it. I was a teammate of Jim Harbaugh's. I wish they could beat them. I saw some stuff against Michigan State that we can talk about later that that scared me.
Yeah, so, it's gonna be scary.
It'll be interesting.
I want to see what they decide to do. I want to see how Jim has decided to attack them offensively and then defensively. I think I know what I would do against Ohio State. I want to see how they play it. That's going to be important. You better go back, look at Oregon, look at some of these games, because you cannot get into a scoring contest with this team. You just
absolutely
can't.
not, because you have, and I was watching a little thing on ESPN. Herbstreit did a thing with the receivers. I don't know if you saw it, but it was insane. I mean, they have there's a possibility that they could have 3 receivers at 1,000. No, I think 2 receivers at 1,000 yards, and then a running back at 1,000 yards. Which it's, I mean, come on, dude. And oh, by the way, running back, quarterback, freshman. So we will definitely talk about that when we get there. All right, so let's move to number 6.
Before we do,
Yes,
can you shout out our guy
6.
Cameron Beige? He had COVID. He was in intensive care.
Oh my gosh.
And he's back, and he said this Michigan game will finally get him well if they win.
Hey. All right, Cameron. Well, let's all wish Cameron happy health.
Yes.
Absolutely happy health, man. Sorry to hear about what happened there.
But he's back. He's getting back. But I wanted to give him a shout out from his boy, Chris Zorich. Look at that, Cam. Can't get better than that.
There you go, Cam. Get better, bro. All right, let's move on to number 6.
Number 6, Notre Dame.
My iris. Okay, now 55-0. Let's give a huge kudos to Coach Freeman for his first shutout at Notre Dame. I mean, this is Marcus. He's on cloud 9. This is great. Obviously, he's thinking about this game, but having a chance to have this great of a season. When you look at it, they've allowed their opponents in the last 3 games only 9 points. Or no, what was it? Here are my notes. I'm sorry. Yeah, 9 points. Last 3 opponents, they've outscored them 117-9. That's unheard of for Notre Dame. Last 3 games. Now, granted, I mean, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but it was Navy, Virginia, and Georgia Tech. But still, I mean, when was the last time you heard of Notre Dame outscoring opponents 117-9? That's
Listen, you are only who you are asked to play. And if you're going out there and saying 55-0, where you've had other teams playing Tulsa and Tulane and they're struggling, this game of football is the tone setter. 55-0 is nothing to shake your head at or think is nothing. Georgia Tech. No, those kids are playing too, and that's their Super Bowl to play Notre Dame.
Sure.
I really believe it.
Let us remember that gone are the days of the Florida State game, right? First game of the year, we almost lost.
Right.
And I only want to mention Toledo. People give me a hard time out because I always bring up
Toledo.
Hey,
you struggled a bit.
There you go.
Early in the season.
Those days are gone, which is amazing. It happened after
Anthony. Beating the opponents the way a highly ranked team should.
Bingo. There you go.
Exactly, Anthony.
I love it, Anthony, because that's the mindset that Notre Dame has to have. The whole staff, the coaches, trainers, managers, players, everybody they have to have that mindset.
Golden pride back. Where you do that, you don't struggle. They're finding their stride at the right time.
Yes, they are. And it's very surprising.
Chris Zorich, there's no bias, just like the lyric in the open. There's no bias.
I think I may be a little hard on him, but I mean,
exactly.
I want that boot to be on that dude's.
Yeah, you're more harsh on them than you are biased. But listen, who do they play this weekend? Stanford. That's the rival.
No, 3 lost. But here's the thing, though. So what scenario gets them into the playoffs?
Yeah, this is the key. Michigan's going to have to beat Ohio State. I don't think Auburn, after they lost this weekend, could knock out Alabama, but you never know.
But Alabama, they wound up winning by a touchdown against Arkansas, which I was getting nervous toward the end.
That was a freaking barn burner there.
By the way, you have to play Arkansas ranked in other polls, Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and then, by the way, you have to play the SEC championship and it just so happens to be against the number one team in the country for you to advance. I mean,
right.
talk about a gauntlet.
Now, if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, which they've done many a time, when's the last time Bullets Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma? I can't remember that, or Cherie. But that being said, Cincy, Notre Dame, they have the win over Notre Dame, but Notre Dame is playing better football until this past weekend with Cincy. So then it becomes that. So, oh my God.
Well,
this is going.
I think what's crazy is Notre Dame lost early to a team that's obviously ranked higher than them. But interestingly enough, there's a scenario where they can get in there if Cincinnati shits the bed, right? If they have a bad game against East Carolina, if they have a bad game in the American Championship game, right? Because as we've seen with poor play and with a possible loss, they are definitely out of the hunt for CFP, for the college football playoff committee.
Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma in 2014.
There you go.
Good job, Bullets.
All right.
Look at that. But
so that's a possibility. It'd be fun to see them, although it'd be hard to kind of like really see how they get there. But again, there is a possibility we've seen crazy things happen this year. So
I hear
you heard it here. Notre Dame could possibly get into the championship game, that'd be crazy.
Better when they are. I agree with you.
That because after the loss to Cincinnati and then almost shit in the bed at Toledo, that'd be crazy if they got it. All right, so let's take a look at number 5.
Number 5, Cincinnati.
Speaking about the Natty, so I have them ranked at number 5. I've gotten a ton of crap from a lot of my guys. A lot of folks have been talking to me about it. Why do I have them ranked so low? They should be top 3, possibly top 4. For me, I have to look at kind of the whole program and had my doubts in the beginning, as Phil will tell you. Played Notre Dame, beat the crap out of Notre Dame at Notre Dame Stadium. Great win for them. And they wound up having like a 2 or 3 game really roll where they wound up putting some crazy points up, and then all of a sudden they hit a wall and they were beating teams by a touchdown or barely beating them. Now, recently, the scary thing for me was when they wound up playing Tulsa, there were 2 plays where they could have lost. The one, the Tulsa quarterback slid instead of kind of diving, trying to get more, and the Tulsa running back wound up fumbling in the end zone, which I don't blame him for. He was trying to put the ball over. As soon as he trying to put the ball over, somebody knocked out of his hands. They could have lost that game, and we would have been talking about some other stuff. So that's where I look at those situations. And I said this before, when you talk about kind of who Cincinnati is, Cincinnati is a good team in the American Conference. They're a really good team. They'll probably be the championship team there. But again, that's who their competition is. They're not playing. If Notre Dame played them again for the end of the year, we all know who would win, right? I'll be a little biased to say Notre Dame. But when you look at, they're going to be going into the Big 12. Let's see what's going to happen year 1, year 2, where they're going to be playing against teams that now have 3-star, 4-star players, when Cincinnati, they weren't doing well, right? I mean, they're not recruiting the same players. That's why I think the game against Notre Dame was so great, because they actually beat a team that has better players than they have. And when you look at the American, I think Cincinnati has the equivalent of the players that are in the American. And so let's not get too fired up when their opponents are getting close to Cincinnati, because this is who Cincinnati is. Cincinnati isn't a Pac-12 team, a Big 12 team, a Big 10 team. They're not. They're an American team. Taking a little bit away from the folks in the American, but that's kind of really who they are. So that was my rant. I do think there's a bias against or for Cincinnati because folks want to see them in there, but it's the same thing that happened with UCF a couple of years back, right? They go undefeated. I think the athletic director wound up getting them rings. They wound up saying, hey, you guys are national champions. The interesting thing would be, did the athletic director pay the coaches for winning the national championship? That's kind of the interesting part, which I don't know. But
then Scott Frost left.
He did bounce to Nebraska, right?
He went to Nebraska.
So the thing, though, is, this is who they are, and I don't think they're better than the teams that I have ahead of them. I just flat out don't. And that's my response. Love the debate I had with my former teammates, with my friends on this, because, hey, man, I respect your opinion. Hopefully you respect mine as well.
Do you think, I saw someone had a good question, do you think Notre Dame gets hurt because they don't have a championship series?
Absolutely.
Conference champion.
Absolutely. Because, but
Ralph
they're
Barth.
also going to be hurt. Ralph, they're also going to be hurt because their last couple opponents aren't that good. So, as much as I love the fact that Notre Dame beat a team 55-0, Georgia Tech has 3 wins.
Yep.
So, let's be honest, right? And so you look at Navy, same thing. Virginia, now you're going to go to Stanford, and, I assume they're going to put up some crazy points, but Stanford only won 3 games. So, when you start racking up points like that against teams that are above 500, then we could talk. But
right.
It's because they don't have that big championship game at the end of the year, it is going to affect them. Because not now, it'll help them in a way. Well, it hasn't helped them the last couple of years, but everybody thought it would help them because they have a chance to get healthy and hang out. But then all of a sudden they ran into a buzzsaw against Clemson last year, So, doesn't make a difference. I think it hurts them for not being in the championship and having a chance to play a better opponent.
I agree with you. We talked about this early in the season about the bye weeks. I think the same premise comes here. You don't want to be sitting. Right. I don't think that does you well, especially here. Yeah, maybe a week, but not 4 months or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like a month and a half waiting to play.
Right.
Nah, it's not. I'm not signing up for that. Anyway.
All right. Let's
number 4. Top 4 in the Super 16 poll, shall we? Chris Zorich.
Number 4, Oklahoma State.
Okay, again, Bedlam, this is it. Now, people are like, Chris, how the hell do you have Oklahoma State above Cincinnati? Well, I kind of gave you my scenario of why Cincinnati's at 5. And the idea that Oklahoma State's in a better conference is flat out the reason why. And I think a lot of people, and again, we actually talked about this last week in the thought of the day. There is a bias for the little guy, which is Cincinnati, and that's fine. But we saw it when in the college football playoff selection, the first week, they had Cincinnati at 6, and their explanation was that they're not doing well against really good teams. They're doing well against average teams. And so when you look at what Oklahoma State has done, their defense is finally catching up to what their offense is finally doing. Their offense is throwing up crazy points, and they actually have somewhat of a defense that can actually stop some folks. Not everybody, but they can stop some folks. And we all know the playing defense in the Big 12 is literally like having a sieve, because they just can't stop anybody. But they actually have stopped some folks this year, which is good. And I think that when you look at, who Michigan State has played in their conference, I think Cincinnati's obviously played Notre Dame. They're ranked. And I want to say Oklahoma State may have played 2 ranked teams, but
I tell you right now, they played Baylor, and they beat them 24-14 on October. They played Iowa State at the time. They were not highly ranked, but they ended up losing to unranked, rather, Iowa State 24-21. And then they haven't played anybody else that was ranked until now. So there you go.
The idea of Cincinnati kind of week to week going up against the opponents that Oklahoma State's playing, it's just not the same. And going into, thank you, Cam, because I'm getting a lot of crap about this because everybody's kind of killing me for putting Oklahoma in 4, but I just don't think that they're better. So there we go. But again, we are talking about Bedlam, so it's going to be exciting. Phil, you got any thoughts on that?
On your ranking them 4?
On Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State be 4.
I honestly would have put Cincy there with the loss to Iowa State and the close one to Boise. But I see where you're going with it. Right now they're flying high and their defense is improving, but it is what it is right here. It's one or the other at that point.
Well,
I think Notre Dame is better than both of them now. If they lined up Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, Cincy, I give the advantage to Notre Dame. I also think Michigan's better than both Oklahoma State and Cincinnati.
Oh,
that's just, there's my opinion.
I love your opinion. Thank you.
If I was just keeping it 100 with you, which I am.
Please keep it 100. I'd like to see number 3.
Oklahoma State this is where they say to me, we beat Oklahoma. Then I'm like, okay, that's where you belong.
Sure. Well, okay. So here's a scenario, right? So let's say Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma. Where does Cincinnati go? Because Cincinnati's biggest win,
they stay exactly where they are on your poll.
Exactly right.
Unless Michigan, because Michigan would leapfrog Cincinnati, in my opinion. If Michigan beats Ohio State.
Careful, people don't want to hear that.
Oh, it's on my poll, even though I don't have one.
that would be interesting.
But I'm saying, Michigan at 7, they get over this hurdle, right? They beat Ohio State.
Absolutely,
probably the hottest football team in the country.
Absolutely.
I don't mean by their looks. I'm talking about their play. So
again, you look at who Georgia played, and and again, this is sound crazy, but who has the 2 best wins of the year? And it's Purdue. Beating a number 2 and a number 3 team.
Exactly.
You cannot deny them, right? And so, if Michigan's able to pull it off, that'd be amazing. All right, so let's take a look at number 3, which is a little different than several other weeks.
Number 3, Alabama.
Now, anybody who saw this game understands why I moved Alabama down 1 to number 3. As you know, I have a huge bias for Alabama. I think they're a great team. Anybody that has been able to sustain a program like they've been able to sustain over the years deserves it. You have to show me how bad you are in order for you not to be ranked high with me, right? Because I look at the fact that everybody's gunning for you. Everybody's been gunning for you for the last 6-7 years. So, however, that being said, they almost lost against Arkansas. So that's why, boom, they get moved down one. And Bryce Young's having a phenomenal year. Yes, Jason, I know. I am the biggest Alabama fan. Probably, well, I'm not going to say the biggest fan there is out there, but I'm a huge Alabama fan. But I got to be real, right? So the idea of where they belong after almost losing to a lower ranked, if they're even ranked team, again, we've seen Arkansas. I think they've lost 3 now. I mean, imagine that, right? It wasn't hard enough for Alabama to drop when they got beat by Texas A&M, and that was even by a larger margin. Here, it's the end of the year where teams are supposed to be improving. We just got done talking about that, and now they almost lose by, I mean, they wound up winning by a touchdown, but I think it's going to be really, really interesting. This is going to be a huge, huge game because Alabama now, their defense isn't where it's been in the past couple of years. So that's where a lot of that's where they're very vulnerable at, and we saw it. And even the game before, they wound up giving the ball back to the opponent with like 2 minutes left in the game. I mean, you're not supposed to do that. And they wound up winning that game by not getting, by the team not getting the Hail Mary. So a lot's going into this week. It's Iron Bowl. Right now, kind of what Phil was talking about, I mean, the folks are going to toss out the records now, because now this is Auburn versus Alabama in the Iron Bowl. And that's the only thing folks care about in that area is this game. So it does not matter who's ranked what. This is going to be the craziest. Yes, Anthony, I got to agree with you. The offensive line hasn't been the offensive lines that we've seen in the past. So that's where I think they belong. Interestingly enough, I'm still nervous about the defense. There are a couple bright spots, but it's gonna be tough. And I have thanks, Tom. I have a buddy who thinks that they're going to demolish Auburn and they're actually going to demolish Georgia. I'm not sure about that one, but interesting enough, let's go to number 2.
Number 2, Ohio State.
Phil, please jump in this because we've waited a while for this one. This was a crazy game. I watched the whole game with my mouth wide open. I mean, it was just play after play. It was absolutely amazing. And Stroud wound up becoming a Heisman candidate, Stroud, and then our guy Walker only had 24 yards.
I know. Listen, they stuffed the run. That's, you talk about having a defensive performance, you know, Mel Tucker getting the deal, and you're thinking Michigan State, you're going to come in there, pound the rock, you're going to keep this game close. They went all out and forced you to pass and just stuffed it. Now you made them one-dimensional.
Bingo.
Which that's what transpires. And Ohio State is multi-dimensional, and you see once momentum swung, it was like the storm gates had opened, and Ohio State just has so much talent at the receiver position as well as the tight end who's on. That kid's underrated. You get these big chunk plays down there, and it's just they keep going after you deep. So that's, you know, Ryan Day does a really good job of saying, okay, we're going to take our shots, and he makes it a point. And I like that in a coach. And it's unfortunate for Michigan State at the time, but Ohio State proved their worthiness on both sides of the football. Oh my God.
CJ had 430 yards, 6 touchdowns. Now, this was the 7th ranked team in the country. They could have put more points up there, but it's 56-7. This is not Charleston Southern, okay,
Right.
that Georgia played, right? This is Michigan State University.
At number 3 in the college football poll. They were 7 in your poll.
Well, yeah.
And you were right. You were proven right.
This game. I watched it. I mean, so now you're talking about you have a stud freshman running back. I mean, what the hell is going to happen in the future, right? Stud freshman running back, stud freshman quarterback who they're talking about has a chance to now win a Heisman now because they're saying he may be the front runner now because of this game. 6 touchdowns against a top-ranked team in the country.
Yeah, he is the front runner in my opinion. Kid's playing.
What the hell, man? And then the receivers, his receivers, I think
Olave.
2 of his receivers, I think, are almost at 1,000. I think one's at 1,000. I think the one's close, but even so, man. I mean, you have receivers that are, come on. This is just,
they're running professional routes there.
Seriously.
And speed.
Was there a drop-off when Justin Field left? And I would have to say,
in the beginning, now this kid has gotten his feet wet. Now they're even more explosive.
Right, exactly.
This kid's more pure in my analysis as DDP. This kid, as a freshman, is more of a pure passer than Justin Fields was. I mean, it's just evident to me. It's just,
which I love, because when you have quarterbacks who are mobile
and they can dime, like just quick release.
Right. Well, but, and I said this, and I got shit for this. Do you want your quarterback running a 4.4, 4.5? Okay.
Yeah.
And I say no. And the reason why is because, he's going to find out very soon that there are 340-pound defensive ends that run faster than you do and can catch you.
Right.
And instantly you tend to not finish your routes or finish looking at your
progressions.
And then you automatically run. Right.
Well,
so that's
some of them. I'm never going to give a negative to someone who runs a 4.4. If they're the quarterback, that's a positive. But to your point, I'll say this: if their goal and their number one weapon is their feet, then yeah, that is a detriment because it ain't going to cross over to the NFL level.
But
because to your point, it's going to end up just like Steve Young. He had to learn, I can't be running all the time. I'm taking a beating, right?
Right.
He was an athlete, that dude. Right. Same thing with Michael Vick. At some point, he had to become pocket aware,
right,
and get better, and he knew that too. But you don't want to take that tool out of the toolbox. If you can run, then I love it, but don't plan to run every time.
But that with people who have that ability, that's always in the back of their mind, because they know, hey, if this isn't working, as opposed to throwing something out, tossing it out of bounds, and yes, you won't get any yards, but you also won't get damaged either. So, I say that when obviously the extreme example is Tom Brady, right? So here's a guy who can't run for shit, but he's probably the best quarterback to ever play the game.
Not probably. He is.
Well, I want to be fair to everybody, right?
You could say
he is by far the best.
Joe Montana's your boy, but
love Joe. He has 4.
Exactly.
Brady has 7. And 6 with one team, by the way.
Tom Brady is the best I've ever seen. I don't have any bias. It's just unbelievable what he continues to do even tonight on Monday Night Football. Although the refs screwed over the Giants, for the record.
Well, you aren't supposed to be watching that, but okay.
I'm
So
not.
let's
I just
finish.
saw it. I saw the play. I wanted to keep it 100.
All right, great. Okay, that's right. All right. So now
let's see what he
let's
does.
go
Michigan has 2 great edge rushers too.
Yes, no,
That Hutchinson and my other guy, I can't remember his name, off the other number 55. That kid, those 2 guys are going to have something to say about how does this kid. He's had some great pockets. I saw someone in the chat say that. How does he deal with getting some pressure? That's got to be Michigan's thing. You got to get pressure on Stroud.
Absolutely.
Then we'll see if Stroud, Tom A saying it right here.
There you go.
If Stroud pounds them, he's probably going to get the Heisman. Yes, but
absolutely.
Anthony said it. I'm sorry. Let's see how Stroud does with pressure. He's had a lot of clean pockets. Let's see how Michigan dials it up.
So, yes. All right. So let's go on to move to number. Well, Phil, you can stay on. So let's go to number 1.
Numero uno.
Number 1. Georgia.
For those of y'all who weren't surprised, Georgia played Charleston Southern. Interestingly enough, had the same score as Ohio State versus Michigan State. Excuse me. Yeah. So imagine, Michigan State only putting up as many points as Charleston Southern did. Not really much to talk about here. Right now, they have a rivalry game. It's against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech lost 55-0 Notre Dame. Georgia Tech won
over at the
3
half.
games. I mean, it just the only positive thing is that they've rested their starters long enough, right? Playing Charleston Southern, right? So now I'd say I play my starters maybe a quarter, get them out of there, get them healthy, and start looking toward the
SEC championship.
No doubt. But again, this is how these teams in the SEC are working this, right? Because some of them have breaks right before. When I say breaks, easier teams before their rivalry game. And those who don't have a chance to heal their starters and get them ready for the SEC championship. And we're seeing how valuable in the last maybe 5 or 6 years, I don't remember a year where the SEC championship game didn't make a difference in the top 4. Right?
Right.
I mean, flat out.
Never.
So, basically,
I don't think it's ever not happened.
The national championship runs through the SEC.
I totally agree. Maybe back when Florida State was good, that maybe Miami, Florida State, Notre Dame, and a Big Ten school kept the SEC out of it. That's me just guessing, 80s, 90s.
No, I'm talking about when they had. I know for sure for the bowl championship series, but even before that.
Right. I would wonder when the last time an SEC team wasn't in the top 4. That would be interesting to see. That's how good that division or league, however
you can call it a league at that point.
they're in a league.
They're definitely in a league of their own.
League of their own.
All right.
Speaking of league of his own, how about Chris Zorich's Super 16 poll right here?
I love it. Okay, so we have Wake Forest at we have I can't. Oh, there we go. Okay,
that's Wake Forest.
Right, but you only had.
It's blocking because
I was trying to go off of the screen, but I got to go off my notes now. Wake Forest at 16, BYU, Wisconsin 14, Michigan State. They had to drop 13. Oregon had to drop as well. They're definitely not in the hunt anymore, which again talks about the Pac-12 and what their strength or not strength is. We have Baylor, Texas A&M at 10, Oklahoma at 9. However, interestingly enough, if they beat Oklahoma State, let's see where that lands them in the final weeks to come. We got Ole Miss at 8, Michigan 7, Notre Dame 6, Cincinnati 5. Got a lot of crap for that one. Oklahoma State at 4, Alabama 3. That's new. We have a new number 2 at Ohio State because of their unbelievable performance against Michigan State, 56-7, and of course Georgia at number 1. Okay, first of all, before I get started, did you have a chance to see any of the Harvard-Yale game?
I did not,
It was cool. However, I want to talk about one thing.
Yes.
There's a linebacker who was a senior, and I think he was on Harvard's team, and he had a targeting penalty.
Oh, jeez.
And so it was so hard to see him. I mean, like literally, he was done. And
he was in tears.
And I totally understand. Now they've changed the rule where we don't have to leave the area. So he still kind of coaches teammates up and stuff like that. But dude, you're a senior. Now it's such touch and go as a defensive player. I don't even like the targeting thing because all running the all receiver has to do is just put their head down when you're coming in, and boom, all of a sudden it's contact.
I like the concept of it, but to your point, I think it should be a penalty, a warning, and then if it happens again, then you've established that there's a pattern.
Sure.
As opposed to one and done. I don't like that. As much as I think the targeting and safety is obviously imperative, I just think there's too much punishing players. You saw what happened in the national championship with the linebacker from Clemson. He's taking out their captain. You know, it's like, come on. It's like you don't take out Chris Zorich. Who's coming in next? Jim Flanagan at the time?
Well, he actually probably did that. He probably did well too. But watching that game, it was fun watching. I love the Yale Bowl. It was at the Yale Bowl.
Yeah.
Interesting story about that. I mean, it was hilarious because that's all concrete, bro. Like,
oh my God.
It's hilarious. And at the time, I have a little history here. At the time, that was the biggest stadium in the country. And legend has it that the powers that be were talking about football and trying to change because it was so violent back in the day. People were dying and stuff like that. They asked Walter Camp, and they just finished building the Yale Bowl, and it was concrete. So they're asking, "Hey, do you want to make the field wider or what?" He was like, "No, because I just built the concrete stadium, so not." So there was a possibility had Yale not already built their stadium, that football may have been wider because they were talking about trying to keep ways to keep it safer. And one of the topics was maybe having a wider field. But I felt so sorry for that senior man. It was sad watching it because it's just one of those things.
And true story, my dad was sanding the stadium. They have like benches. So when he says concrete, the foundation was concrete. Then they have benches, wooden benches. He was doing that as a summer job when I was born. He had to leave.
Really?
They put over the loudspeaker. He was taking this extra job in the summer, sanding the Yale Bowl bleachers.
Nice.
And then the guy went on the PA, Ottochian, you're needed. Your wife is on her way to the hospital. So he just put his stuff down and ran to the hospital.
Oh, that's a
Yale Bowl story.
Absolutely, man. And I only know that because I spent so much time going to the Walter
We're
Camp.
going to do some Walter Camp stuff to let fans like you guys know what Chris is talking. Who's Walter Camp? There's not enough emphasis on who this guy is. He's the one who created the game of football. In fact, Rutgers, Princeton, I believe, is the first ever football game. there's a lot of history to this game that people don't realize and know. And we're going to bring some of that to you in the coming weeks. I know that.
And interestingly enough, Yale was the Alabama
of the times.
Like in the 09s and stuff like that.
1909.
They won like 30 championships or something like that.
Yeah, they were the enemies. The enemies. And it's right in the backyard.
Well, listen, thank you for bringing it up. We had a mini conversation about that earlier.
Roadrunner for life. We got two.
All right.
Holy, here we go.
I don't know how you found her, but okay. The idea of them still being undefeated is great. My only kind of argument against that is the strength of conference. Again, I mean, we're seeing what's going on with Cincinnati in the American, and if you kind of threw Conference USA in there, it's going to be another situation where they're going to be, UCF of several years ago, where they go undefeated. Do they deserve a ring? Yeah, they deserve a ring. That'd be great for a conference championship if they get it. But does that put them in the same boat as Alabama and them? So I digress a little bit because I wanted to get to it because I know that was one of my top 5 games last week because it was exciting. Wanted to see that matchup. Finally had a chance to see it on ESPNU, so that was great. Now, here's the exciting thing. I don't think there's a game on here we haven't talked about, which is interesting. So, of course, number 1 is going to be Ohio State, Michigan.
There you go.
We got number 2, Alabama at Auburn for the Iron Bowl.
There you go.
And you're saying, whoa, Chris, I thought you were excited about Bedlam. I am, but I'm only 3rd excited about Bedlam because Bedlam's 3rd, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. And here's the thing.
Surprised it's 3rd for you.
Huh?
Considering, I'm surprised it's 3rd for you. Are you going traditionally? Because Auburn has been a letdown at the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, but this I like we were talking.
But you're saying
all bets are off.
You're ranking them. Okay.
These are huge. Well, also, I'm ranking them on the influence that they have
on your poll.
Yes, exactly.
Got you.
So rivalry, everything's out the window, records out the window, but that second number 1 or 2B is what's going to happen in the poll. So we have 4, which is actually going to be on Thursday. Right? Yes. So we have the Egg Bowl on Thursday, which I think this may be the first time. I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't remember watching the Egg Bowl last year on Thanksgiving. So it's just maybe they just want to move it over. And last but not least, number 5, we have the bowl that I didn't know what was going on, and that was the Civil War between Oregon and Oregon State.
Oregon State, Civil War. That usually is in prime time. We'll see when that plays itself out.
Or I think it might be like at 11 p.m. Eastern because I'm joking.
Oh, really? I think they try to set that one up for prime time.
I'm joking because
now the NFL's playing those 3 games on Thanksgiving. Saturday is the last Saturday of college football, so I think they want to fit Oregon. I think you're going to see that, but
it's not known as a Civil War. Okay, what is it? What is it called?
They changed it.
Oh, goddamn, it changed, man.
All right, so what do they call it, Bullets? We've been referring to it that you're supposed to be our guy, our key statistician and naming rights of bulls and trophies goes to Bullets from
that is true.
Southern California.
That is true.
Chris, every week keeping it 100 Wednesday nights. This Wednesday, though, there will be no show. We will be live on our Patreon side tomorrow night, taking questions and talking Bears, Nagy, Justin Fields, all of that on the Patreon side. Then on Wednesday morning, we'll have another big show with me, Bearlissimo, breaking down some tape of what transpired with Bears versus the Baltimore Ravens. So pay attention to that. Then obviously Thanksgiving Day, Bears Hour live right after the final whistle. Save your turkey legs and your mashed potatoes, or if it's late in the afternoon for you, maybe your are you a pumpkin pie, apple pie? What are you?
I love all pies, man. I don't care.
If
Vanilla
you
ice
had
cream.
to choose, if you had to choose,
I had to choose.
yes,
I would probably have to go with apple pie.
apple pie. Are you a warm apple pie, or you like it cold with the whipped cream on top?
Warm apple pie with
a scoop of vanilla.
Vanilla. It has to be vanilla ice cream.
Oh, yes,
It has to be
Chris.
vanilla ice cream.
I
See?
like you even
There you
more. I'm
go.
there with you. I also like my pumpkin pie cold. I don't like a hot pumpkin pie.
Yes, very true.
You with me?
However, I had to run some errands. I went to Costco.
Yes.
Bro, I've never seen so many pumpkin pies in my life.
It was just stacked to the rafters.
I was like, "What the? Is there a pumpkin pie shortage?" I mean, I was, and I asked him like,
There's no toilet paper. Got plenty of pumpkin pie.
the woman asked. I asked, I was like, "What's the deal?" She's like, "It's funny, people talk about this, but by the end of the day, and this was, what was it, like Thursday? What's today? That was like Thursday." And
Yes.
she's like, "They'll be gone by the weekend." But there had to be thousands, bro. And we weren't even talking. It wasn't even like Thanksgiving. I mean, they still have like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? I mean, they're closed on Thanksgiving, but dude, I've never seen so many pumpkin pies in my life, and they're huge. They're not like the regular, like, you know, Meijer or Walmart pies. Dude, these pies
Sarah
are huge.
Calendar's pie. That's it's about that big.
These are
This
huge.
thing is like coming in for the entire family.
This is like a pizza pie. Yes.
I got to go to Costco. There's one 2 towns over. What is it? What do you call those paid subscribe clubs?
Yeah.
You know, it's called BJ's. I kid you not. It's
I've
called
heard of those.
BJ's.
I've heard of those.
That's where Steph went tonight, picked up the turkey. My parents are coming over, my sister and her kids.
Nice.
So yeah, Phil's roped into carving turkeys. But we'll be live. You're going to be joining us, Chris. Bears Hour Live. We're going to talk about Thanksgiving Day football. You won the Madden Award with the turkey.
That was
We're going
fun.
to be breaking it all down. So you'll be paying attention to Bears Lions, Chris. Obviously, because we're going to want your take. Obviously,
Yes.
I'll rant. The rant will be live. Chris will come
There
in.
will
My
be a
dad.
rant. It'll be exciting. It'll be exciting.
I
You can't
hope.
lose come on, man.
Hey.
You cannot lose the Lions on Thanksgiving. And yes, I have to answer that question.
Yes.
Yes, I was actually there
Yes.
Saturday.
And Sunday.
No, just Saturday. But it was like during a couple games. And
I gotta
so
go to this Harold's Chicken.
you have to, bro.
Now I went out to
Jim
Jim Larison's house. He invites me there, and we're having this setup. He had put out the spread, and there was this chicken strips. I gotta ask him where they are. So the next show, and I gotta tell you something. Those chicken strips were outstanding.
Nice.
Outstanding. I'm gonna find out what the name of that. It's like a chain in Illinois too. They're famous. It's like building up. There's a big. It's growing around the country. Oh man, nobody knows. Nobody knows but me. But it was very good.
On your prediction, ND Stanford, I'd be crazy to not say Notre Dame because
Come
Stanford
on.
won 3 games. But
Definitely Notre Dame.
thank you for.
Although I like David Shaw as a coach, I
do.
Notre Dame's going to take that one. Chris, we said it all each and every week. I just wanted to keep everybody informed. We also have the One Up Fantasy show on TTNL on Tuesday nights. That's tomorrow night. The guys will be giving you some fantasy updates
Nice.
and everything. So we got it all covered here at TTNL. But I can't thank this guy enough. Every single solitary week, putting in that effort, watching all the games, coming up with his own poll, sponsored by the National Football Foundation, the College Football Hall of Fame, which, oh, by the way, we didn't even put this up there tonight, Cherie. How are we dropping the ball on the Hall of Famer right there? Three-time All-American,
Oh my gosh.
CBS Defensive Player of the Year. Hello. Are you the player of the year? No. Is Chris Zorich? Heck yeah, he is. That's how great. National champion and College Football Hall of Famer. And he's number 97 in the NFL. He was number 50 at Notre Dame. Look at him up there on the top of the screen. Let's see if I can get it. Ooh, I did it right. It's so hard. It's so
impressive.
hard.
Impressive.
There he is. There he is. Football Writers Association of America. It's the Super 16 poll show every week with the 3-time All-American of Notre Dame. I can't wait to take in a Notre Dame game with you, Chris. But I got to bring you out here. You'll be out here. We're going to get all into it. And next week, Chris Zorich unveils his top 16 football movies.
That's a lot of pressure, man. I've been looking at it, man. That's a lot.
Chris, I got to give one update before your final thoughts.
Yes, sir.
Finished Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, there you go.
I'm catching up, and I really got to give it a thumbs up. I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you did.
I like the messages. I wasn't expecting the messages.
Was that crazy?
Oh, that was phenomenal.
I was not expecting that either. I was amazed. I was like, whoa.
I'm like, good for you, Marvel, sending those messages, sending a positive message to the planet. And I really loved that. Just as much as I love you. Each and every week, Chris Zorich gives his final thoughts. And this week is no different.
Thank you, DDP. And you can actually jump in here as well, because I think this is kind of something cool. That's something that they should do. The college teams should adopt this as well. Some schools do it.
Yep.
But and I know we talked about this before briefly, but I think there should be maybe a handful of games, right? So instead of Oregon having a different jersey thing, like a different jersey every game, put one aside for anything you want to, but like breast cancer and your veterans. I think that should be like a standard one. The NCAA should get together and say, hey guys, look, on this date, we're going to do breast cancer. On this date, and again, it could be anything, testicular cancer, whatever your deal is. But if you're having the money to put together these uniforms,
I totally agree.
Notre Dame they're putting together different uniforms for their Shamrock series. I'm not a big fan of changing uniforms at all, period. But if you're gonna do it, let's do some good themes instead of like, oh hey, it's our throwback game from 1842. Come on, man.
Yeah.
So at that point,
do it for a cause.
Thank you.
And
at that
purpose.
point, you're doing it just to make money.
Exactly.
And it was really cool because I had a chance to participate with the NFL Salute to Service. Had a chance to go out and hang out and assist some veterans that were kind of down on their luck. Jimmy Graham actually wound up providing turkeys for 250 folks out there. It was great. And I just think that this is something that, the fact that we have to take care of our veterans is, on a personal level, is just absolutely abhorrent. That's terrible. But there are organizations out there that are helping. The young lady who's holding the turkey with me, Mary, she's actually also getting a check for the Midwest Veterans Closet. She's down in the lower one too. Mary Carmody, phenomenal. The first time I met her, she's a saint. She's not a vet, not a first responder, but she saw a need. And she literally is the executive director of the Midwest Veterans Closet.
That's awesome.
She has a program where you can come in there and you can get diapers, you can get toys, literally you can go shopping. You can get books, you can get CDs, and it's all free. And I mean, I'm getting the chills talking about it, but I mean, just seeing her kind of in her element and working. And there was a young man just kind of pulled me aside for a minute, saying, "Hey, Chris, can you stay a little bit longer?" Because there's this one gentleman, and I won't mention his name, but there was this one gentleman who got in a car accident a couple days ago, and he was taking the bus to come up here and help us out. And so she was like, well, I made a couple calls, and there was this used car dealership that wound up donating a car to this dude and his family.
That is phenomenal.
And she gave it to him there. And it was just so cool because here's a guy who former vet, or sorry, not a former vet, but a vet, and understand the need of helping folks in his community. And he was taking public transportation because his car got jacked up. And, she wanted to get him a car. I mean, she's a saint that's out there in the northern suburbs.
We live in a world, Chris, full of negativity. It's like it gets clicks, it creates the news, it makes people want to watch the news of negativity. It's the same human thing over and over, like the bumper to bumper traffic, because everybody's looking at the accident on the other side. It's like embedded there, but we never applaud and showcase the efforts and the kindness. We don't do it enough. I shouldn't say never. I should say we don't do this enough. And two of the things, the woman who's the saint, who goes out of her way to do this, and you guys going out there helping to feed those people, and your point about the veterans. Like, there is no football without the hundreds of millions that have sacrificed their lives, their families, those mothers who watched their sons march off to wars that they might not have believed in. They raised these kids to lose them. So many sacrifices go unnoticed and overlooked. So to your point, I think it's such a great one that every level of sport, on all of it, basketball, football, hockey,
absolutely,
all of them should do something to give back to our veterans. It's well overdue. Don't talk about it, be about it. Don't have Virginia McCaskey watching the Bears lose. Have her pulling out her checkbook and giving these veterans another opportunity of kindness. That's the stuff I want to see from my football team, from Notre Dame and everybody else. I love the uniform stuff. Come out and those green and gold and navy, however you go, and it's all camouflage or whatever it's going to be, but you got to do it. These are the things that need to be done, especially you hit home. Cherie, she served. I see a bunch of Alyssa and Brian Chambers. I saw you guys in there, Cameron Beige, Bullets, all of these people that have served in the military to make us. I've never served, but it has made my life better knowing that I live in this country that's protected like that. So, well, great on you.
It's the idea that, I mean, if we're going to do, a special jersey, I mean, a lot of, it's Under Armour, Nike. I mean, you can get them, sell them after the games, or have auctions. I mean, and give, if you want to be cheap, at least give half at least, right? I mean, some schools could afford it, give all, right, to organizations that assist veterans. Right. But I mean, if you're changing your jerseys every game, man, I mean, take one game out of the year, man, and
give it.
Do it.
Give it to the veterans.
Again,
don't just bring George, the former colonel, out to wave to the fans.
Let's
do something more. Do that too.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Right.
But let's do more. Let's not talk about it. Let's be about it.
So it was so cool because the Bears have been great. They actually had other turkey drives that other former players involved in. I was fortunate enough to also do a tour and hang out with some of the veterans at Soldier Field. That was pretty cool. So the idea that the Bears are doing, they actually doing some amazing things, and we got a tour, and there were a lot of things I didn't know, but kind of talking about kind of why Soldier Field is named Soldier Field,
Right.
just kind of all the significance around that. It just needs to be shown, and I think the NFL has done a great job, but it's the other schools that if you're doing, and I think there's a perfect example is what Boston College has done. They're one of their former, I think he was I think he was a lacrosse player. He may have been a football player, but there's a story around why they wear a red bandana. Mm-hmm. And it's a great one. And I totally forgot. I don't want to just check up the story, but every year they actually have a dedication. And they did a couple of weeks ago for him. That's a perfect example. I mean, you get one game out of the year, man. Go do your veterans thing, however you want to do it, and sell the jerseys. You guys make a ton of money. Let the vets come in free. Let them enjoy the time. There's no reason why a school can't do it. And even the smaller schools, man, you're getting all these different themed jerseys. Man, just do one. I mean, you got 12 games. Do one game, bro. I mean, you go to 4-1 game.
I agree. So well said. So well spoken. And thank you, sir, for going out there and giving back to the community and those people that are in need. This isn't just for a photo opportunity when it comes to Chris Zorich. I've been around this man, and I could say this: the integrity and the compassion that he has for each and every individual surrounding him is worth its weight in gold. If you ever have an opportunity to meet Chris, it's I don't know how to explain it other than it makes you feel just as big as he might be. And he's got some big hands, I'll tell you. He does.
I appreciate that.
But even my wife was like, his smile just lit up the room, and he didn't act like he was better than anybody there. And that's who you are. And to see you out there doing that, representing the Chicago Bears the way they should be represented, I really, truly respect you so much. I love this show. I can't say anything more positive. I'm looking forward to your top 16 football movies next week. I'm going to be bringing mine to the table as well. It's going to be after rivalry week. All of this stuff is going to be set up. It's going to be probably the best show. I don't want to hype it up, but we'll have Thanksgiving. We'll have BHL. There's so much to talk about. And apparently there's some breaking news. Even the crowd at the Bulls game was chanting the TTNL song, Fire Nagy.
Wow.
Look at that, Chris.
The big power. You made it.
We've made it. The power of change, we'll call it. We want change. Got to bring it. For Chris Zorich and our girl, Cherie, Lady Bear. I'm your guy, Draft Dr. Phil. Every week, this guy brings what I said. I mean, I can't go back to his wedding and give his speech. If I could, it'd probably be the best one he's ever heard. But I can't say all the positive things here. He doesn't bring bias. He brings his truth. He's like a kid in a candy store every Saturday with his text to me like, are you watching this? Turn your channel over to this game. And we laugh, and I just love it. College football, it's so authentic. It's so real, and Chris is that as well. So I hope you enjoyed the show. For Chris Zorich, I'm your boy, Draft Dr. Phil. We'll be back again, Bears Hour Live on Thanksgiving. To all you fans, I wish you all the best. Everybody's going through something. So me and Chris send all the thanks, all the givings out to all of you guys. God bless you. We'll see you next week, Monday, or on Bears Hour Live. Chris will give you a little update. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching the Super 16 Poll Show with Chris Zorich. Like, subscribe, and comment. This has been a special presentation of the Tape Never Lies Network.
Performance over politics.